Hey everybody, Stu Smith and Jeff Nichols here with another Tactical Fitness Report. And today we're talking about goals and goal setting and what's coming up with 2020. But before we do that, we're just going to review what's been going on personally between the two of us, individually as well, and then also maybe try to help you set up a logical goal setting plan towards whatever 2020 holds for you or beyond, something like that. So everybody, Jeff, that asks me, hey, what's happening to Jeff's videos on his YouTube page? Where are they? Right. And
Yeah.
you and I both went through a little journey there with, just some website, recreation and kind of evolving with the times, I think,
Yep.
evolving with technology. I mean, just this Zoom podcast alone as we've evolved and started doing podcasts, so
Right.
we are trying to constantly stay on top of things, when technology, provides an easier avenue to get some, education and, word out. So what's new in Jeff Nichols' world? And
Yeah.
talk
So,
a little bit about this last year and what brought you to now and what's next year look like for you.
yeah, just to answer the first question as far as my YouTube channel. For those of you that haven't heard, obviously I had 278 videos on there, something like that. Um, Summary is Google changed their algorithm. It wasn't, from a monetization standpoint, it wasn't useful for me anymore. At least I didn't think that it was. And then also I wanted to update the videos, because when I originally started that, a lot of the videos were, with my phone or low definition, and audio quality wasn't so good. So that was the idea, is really just to upgrade it, because I think that there was a real need for that. And then obviously, from a business owner, you want to monetize that the best way you can. So we're days out, we're hoping, from the membership side, where not only those videos, the redone videos of those topics are going to be implemented onto that, and then we're just going to continue. And just in the same way that I was dropping videos into YouTube before, like on a weekly basis or something, we're going to do the same thing on that membership side. Because again, it's not so much as to protect my information, but for me, I thought for me, it's important that people, right, when you pay for value and you receive value, you basically indoctrinate in a positive way. And that's the idea, is like, I want to create a platform, a teaching platform that is focused on the people that are paying for it. Like, their voice will be heard. Like, hey, Jeff, we want these videos. Absolutely. You guys are driving force of my website. So that's why we're doing it that way primarily, and it's taken a while, because I know nothing about web design, and getting a professional to understand what my vision is has been a little bit difficult, because for me, I don't understand, like, well, why can't we just click here and it does this? And, so there's a process that needs to be articulated back to me. And I'm just trying to be patient. So we're a couple of days out from that.
Nice.
But that's why those videos don't exist.
Gotcha. Oh yeah, I noticed 2019 had you traveling a little bit and also doing some local personal training with people, as well as some seminars.
Yeah, like that's something that's going to continue to happen. And again, in the evolution, I don't advertise a lot about my life in particulars, just because for me, I get frustrated if I'm saying, like, hey, this is coming, and things don't come together. And I just
Sure.
I feel like I'm misled people. So for me, what's coming is the website's coming soon. We are about to hopefully buy a building within the next couple of days, because I'm taking that training model and I'm going to expand upon it. And then again, going back to the travel pieces, that's going to continue. But, over a calendar year, we're going to segregate. When I say we, I'm saying my business manager and better half. Like, what we've decided is, like, hey, maybe a quarter of the year is spent traveling to learn, to bring back information. Maybe a quarter of that year is spent focusing intently on training people in person in a group setting. And then a quarter of that year maybe be like, hey, that's when we're going to host clinics and conferences at our facility. And so that's in the plan right now, because me personally, it's not going to be a gym. It's not going to be a place where you can just come in. It's going to be designed to train special operators, military and law enforcement, based on their needs and goals, and they own the space. Like when they've when they've rented or they're coming into that scheduling space, it's theirs. Like, and even so much where like we might have a clinic, or I might have a group of 6 or 8 people I'm training on a daily basis. Well, the doors won't be open. No one's going to be able to come off the street and like look around. Like it's their time, it's their space. I want to give them the best possible training that we can give. And that's in the future. That's happening.
Nice.
And I don't have a timeline for that, other than like our goal is 6 months from the time that we close to the time we actually purchase the building. So
nice.
That's kind of the head of me. Like that's what's going on. And I'm just trying to be patient, which is hard sometimes, because I know the goal is achievable.
Right.
And for me, it's like I can be a steamroller, and then it slows things down. So I'm giving people that are in this process the benefit of the doubt to just make it easier on them instead of just me being overbearing.
Yeah. You know what? We tell people all the time, be patient, especially when you're goal setting, especially when you're preparing for, these type of, selection programs as well. My 2019 did a very little traveling. I think I made it down there once, maybe twice, to do a swim clinic or something with you. I kind of shut down my training just because we had some family health issues that just kind of required my time at home. So I mainly did a lot of writing and enjoyed it. I have my local training group that I work with, and, the Naval Academy kids I work with. And then I write about that training very often, and kind of created a membership site as well. So what, people on my site get basically what we do every day. I test it out on about 20, 40 people. And then I post it up at the end of the week. Here's what we did this week. And then I kind of, gather all those up, and now I have a spring lift running cycle. I have a summer PT running swimming cycle. I have the fall winter lift cycle. So I've created those as new products this year, and I think I'm just going to keep doing that. So like 2019 had my cardio and calisthenics cycle. It had my fall winter lift cycle, and just kind of gather all the information that I have been sitting on for years and not really doing a whole lot with it. Now I would do an occasional published book. Like Tactical Fitness back there is probably my 2015 year of training, right? That I just kind of pulled together. And, so I'm constantly updating, the methods of training. And really, it's not really not really coming up with any groundbreaking new revolutionary fitness ideas. It's just really a different choreography of the same exercises just to see how it plays with different people. Because some people prefer a method of pyramids. Some people like supersets, and sometimes mixing them all together works best for everybody. So it's it's kind of a journey of, finding what really works best for you and personally. And so
I think that's the goal, right?
Exactly. I've been working out and writing.
Like what you do in person is, we know that's the best byproduct, the best product we can offer. It's how can we take that in-person training with you and I, whether it's a book or it's a video series or whatever it is like, we'll never get to that 100% in-person quality training, but that, maybe a book provides that 30%, maybe some of the videos adds another 30% value to it. And that's all we're trying to do, I think, collectively. And people think, understandably, from a distance, like Jeff and Stu are so very different. No, it really isn't. We're getting to the same place, just from different directions. And the direction is, let's try to disseminate information the best we can that best simulates in-person training with each of us individually. And that's our goal. Like, I think that, maybe to speak for you, it's like, that's our ultimate goal. Is that's the best way to help people, is if we could get everybody in front of us periodically, but we can't.
Yeah.
So how do we do that? How do we best do that when you can't do it in person all the time?
Yeah. And I enjoy it. This is a passion. People say all the time, why are you doing this? I was like, well, I don't know. I would be working out anyway if I didn't work out with other people.
Yeah.
I just invite people to my workouts, and then we get things done. It gives me ideas to write about, and working with people who have different problems and different weaknesses and strengths, trying to achieve a same goal. There's different paths that you have to take, for them to reach that goal, because you really kind of drives your athletic history and your athletic history and your weaknesses and strengths drives your journey. And that kind of segues into 2020. It's the same for Jeff and me. When we're setting our personal goals and business goals, we have to take a look at our strengths and our weaknesses, and who do we need to outsource to help us achieve those goals, because like Jeff says, he and I can't build a website by ourselves, and it's sometimes you need help, with those type of things. So if you would think about your 2020 year, and if you have a year, if you're giving yourself a year to prepare for a selection program, that's a good amount of time. You may not need a whole year. Typically you do, even though you come into it as even a D1 athlete coming into it. You still have a lot of strengths that come into play that make you great at something, but then those weaknesses are going to be exposed really quickly if you don't address them, whether that's through injury or it's failing something or not meeting a standard in a typical day. They will be exposed. So that year is critical. And like I said, if you want to, Jeff, now we can kind of shift gears and maybe talk about the young guy who just finished college over a December semester, and he's going to give himself a year to prepare for heading out to some kind of spec ops world.
Yeah, and I think that there's one thing that we as coaches non-affiliated to the Department of the Navy, Army, or whatever it may be, we understand that they're constantly jockeying position to better facilitate or better accommodate all the candidates getting into those programs. So we can't really, it's changes, and that's fine. So that's what we're saying is, like, the best opportunity you can do is prepare you before you start questioning that process. So we're not even going to question the process, the formal official process.
Sure.
Because we're only in control of what happens before you go see a recruiter, essentially, right? So that's what we're focused on. When we're saying goal setting, we're saying I've made a decision, 365 days minimum, more than likely, before I go get into that formal pipeline, because then regionally you may lose control. It varies. Like there's some inconsistency to that, and so we're trying to just prepare you even for that inconsistency.
Yeah, and it shouldn't matter what you're running on. If it's a track, it's a treadmill, it's a trail, it's a multiple trips around a football field to get to your 1.5 miles. When you ask me, what do you run on? I said, it shouldn't matter. You have a mile and a half. You have a 1.5 miles to run. You should be able to run it in anything.
Yeah, because you will run it in soft sand. You'll run it on the hard packed sand.
Yep.
You'll run it on bike paths and buds. You'll run all over the place, right? So, but again, so like that's Steel Card, I mentioned it. First thing we say, work on our weaknesses. So before that, we identify the weaknesses, and that right there is the PST. So before everyone gets crazy, it's like you are going to self-facilitate the PST, in my opinion, not all at once necessarily.
Sure.
You might, and not even within the protocols of like the rest periods and stuff that are mandated. It's just like, I just need to test my push-ups.
Sure.
Like just all by itself, right? I need to test the 1.5 mile run or 2 mile run or whatever you have to do by itself, because that's going to give you a really good insight on where you're actually at. When you combine them, you can expect obviously a greater deficit because of the increased workload. But so that's what I always suggest. I say, hey, when you've made the decision, I'm going to give myself 365 days. Over the course of a week, test yourself each one of those parameters. Honestly, test it, right?
Yep.
And now we have a point to work from. And then we can go, okay, based on all the numbers that are talked about, advertised within the formal world and also within all the chat rooms and such, like, oh, what are your numbers? Well, now we know. That's a great email. It's like, hey, here's, I pre-tested PST numbers, Stu and Jeff. What would you recommend? And us will just go, well, it's either going to be, you're going to need a combination of, right, aerobic strength, anaerobic strength, aerobic endurance, anaerobic endurance, whatever it may be. And that is what our training programs are meant to do is we see a weakness and then we say, this program will help facilitate improvement in that demographic of training, right? And then you retest it. It's no different than school. You learn a new subject, you study it, you retest it, right? And that year not only gives you a great time to train, it gives you a real good opportunity to, for lack of a better term, come short on your goals initially. Like, oh man, I thought that 6 to 8 week training program would have given me a lot better run times. Well, because it may not be an aerobic issue, it may come down to a strength or strength endurance issue to propel you in running. And that is what the PST does, right? It, as you're in the training, every couple, every 12 weeks or something, you might test your push-ups to see the improvement or lack thereof. But in a good training program, you're going to see improvement. So that's what that year is to do. It's not just train mindlessly and hope that at the end it works. It's test yourself, train, retest, train, retest. And then like at the 6 months, you go, okay, let's evaluate what my 6 months and the progress has been. And if I continue on this path, am I going to have to, get to that fork in the road? Okay, I do need to spend more time on my aerobic conditioning because my run time is still lagging, or my swim. And that's where you also go, hey, if we know you can't swim right efficiently, that is day one. It's like, you need to acquire the skill to become efficient. So we want you guys to think critically about it, because a year is enough time for most. It really is. And again, there's no perfect path, but understand it's okay to fall short on these short-term goals. It's like, oh, I want to be running an 8:30 in 3 months. That may not be possible if you're like an offensive lineman or something, you have to drop weight.
Yeah. Sure.
So that's what I mean is, like, when we broadcast these sort of general ideas, like, we want you to be active participants in the conversation. But about the only way we can do that is if you create a good plan, you articulate that plan, and we can help feed into that plan. Yeah. It's not, hey, like the other day I've been training, whatever. I've only got a couple weeks left. What do I do? My run time isn't, like, you've got what you got. It's unfortunate that you didn't reach out to us 6 months ago, because it's likely we would have been able to identify that shortfall then.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd like to hear your two cents.
No, yeah. I always start off with the PST. Let's see where you are individually, especially if you've never done it before, ever. Let's break it down like you do. However, I also like to see, let's put it all together and see where you degrade, and see where your work capacity is. Do you just start cramping up by the run because you've never done 40 minutes of continuous exercise before? So there's a level of you take some of your athletic history into account there too, and you say, okay, well, you're a powerlifting football player, so this PST is probably going to be a kick in the butt for you. However, the guy next to you who's a triathlete may not have that issue, but he may not perform very well with upper body stuff,
right?
So everybody has a different journey, like I said, and a lot of times that journey is going to really depend on where you've been the previous 5-6 years. If you come into it with a clean slate and you're not an athlete, you may need a little more time than a year, personally, just to kind of build up that ability to handle the volume of activity that is going to be required for you to prepare to a level that gets you there. Because once you crush this PST, which isn't that hard to do. I mean, I've seen guys come in, never take the PST before, 3 months later, they're nailing PST scores because they focused on the PST.
Yeah.
or just a cycle. I mean, a short cycle, 6, 8, 12 weeks. Let's make your workouts look like the PST. It doesn't have to be a PST, but all those elements of activity should be in your daily routine.
Yeah.
Right.
And that
I
may
mean,
be just in largely in part too, emotional development, right? Getting, like, a lot of people aren't used to going, I think that's also why wrestlers and certain other sports athletes, they're used to being the only guy on that mat.
yeah.
Right. And a lot of guys come from team sports and are like, no, like your PST is all on you. Emotionally, some people have to digest that for a minute.
That's a good point. I never thought about that, but
Yeah.
a lot of wrestlers,
Swimmers, to you,
swimmers,
man.
they're
Water polo
constantly,
is a little bit different, but
yeah,
you start looking. That's why I think X Games athletes do so well. Skateboarders, BMX guys, they do so well because it's them.
yeah.
Their ass on the
They can
line.
work out by themselves.
Yeah,
And put in the time and push themselves
you
personally.
bet. It's on them. That's
Yeah.
so you see those sports that have real universal intrinsic motivation. That's what you see.
Yeah.
And that is a big carrot when you're in buds, and then you get surrounded by a bunch of dudes that feel the same way.
Yeah.
Then that intrinsic motivation becomes appropriated to a team that you trust.
Yeah. I like that.
And I think that like the psychology of it is really, really important. And also that's why the psychology of training in a good group environment is so valuable, and why you could get into a bad group of negativity, poor training, whatever it may be, and it turns into that. And that's unfortunate when that happens sometimes. So I guess one thing I just want to kind of touch on is, like, both of us, like we kind of said, I said, we both are the same direction, but I'm saying do your PST individually. You're saying I like to do a group. You guys understand why that is. The reason why Stu and I do it differently is merely because of this. So the years and years that Stu is doing it, right? He has this incredible depth of individuals that have gone in front of him and trained in front of him. So we don't want to, Stu's not going to change his testing protocol to suit anything. He's so used to looking through that lens of group training. Yeah. That's how he's doing it, right? And it works. So for me, for whatever reason, based on the people that I've trained in the timeline, because I might only have them for a week, I have to dissect it so I can get a more authentic individual score. Now, when I get to the facility and I get it put in, it's very likely that for that quarter of the year, and I'm training a group every day or whatever it may be, I might change my training protocol to better suit that group.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So don't think that we're different. Just think that we have assessed, I guess we'll call it the playground, right? And we have to facilitate training accordingly.
Yep. Yeah, I would agree with that. I've just found that, no matter what group that I have, there's always somebody that doesn't need what I'm doing. Right. There's somebody in there, like right now, we have a couple guys that, we're in a heavy lift cycle right now, working on some hypertrophy and strength building. Well, there are two guys that need to lose weight, and every set, we don't even worry about them lifting. They'll come in there, do a couple of rounds, and then we'll just, hit the cardio on them a little bit more and do some more calisthenics.
I signed up online, but I don't think that was the right
way
to do.
Yeah, I got you. Are you picking up? Hold on just a minute.
Yeah.
Hey, Catherine. I can hear everything in here, sweetheart. So
that's all right.
It's a super sensitive microphone.
I hear that.
Yeah. She's like in the other room. Yeah. But anyways, so I know so many people want this very, very precise answer on a lot of these things. And that precise answer comes with a proper timeline. It uncovers itself as that timeline progresses authentically, right? So that's the one thing for the year coming out. Like, that's my advice for you all, is like, don't formulate on like, how do I say this? Like 3 months into training program, don't be discouraged by not achieving the progress that you perceive, because it's like I say, it's like a relationship. You're so emotionally entwined in what you're doing. It's no different really than, you go to the gym. Let's say you're not going to buzz, but you're a bodybuilder, right? You're going to the gym every single day. You're looking yourself in the mirror. you're objectively trying to see if I've gotten bigger, smaller. Like, you don't see that growth on a daily basis. You really don't. Even if you're like, well, my numbers aren't this, and like, let this thing evolve, because it takes a long time. It really does, to get a real adaptation that to this depth, because we're not asking you to get better at just running in a straight line. Like, what you're asking your body to endure this incredible, diverse range of activity that is, it's borderline reckless, but it's designed to be that way. Buds and SFAS and Ranger School, like, understand that those selection processes work so well that every single class yields a very good product.
Yes.
And it's not about necessarily training. It's about deselection. So it is upon you to endure that proper training to handle that load that's eventually going to come.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's going to require getting good at all the elements of fitness. You may already come into this game, like I said, the powerlifting football player. So strength and power, speed and agility may be already there for you. Whereas you're lacking some endurance, cardiovascular endurance. You're lacking some muscle stamina, maybe lacking some joint mobility, right? Like ankle mobility. I find that very challenging. Or if you're a big guy, you may be lacking grip.
Yeah.
All of those little things have to get worked into your program so you can maintain all your strengths, but you work on those weaknesses too.
Yeah.
And then that takes us just a smart system of time.
Yeah.
Because you can't do it all at once. That's why I always go through these cycles of, I focus on strength and, speed and agility and power. I focus on, more running distance and speed and, timed run speed, not sprint speed, and swimming and calisthenics. So we have these different cycles throughout the year we go through, and it's a system. That's all it is. It doesn't mean that the system can't be manipulated in a way to work with someone who doesn't necessarily need what we're working on. It's just the system that we focus on, and 9 times out of 10, it works for most people.
Yeah, I look at training like this, and this, I guess this is a bit of a cliche, I suppose. I look at like preparing Thanksgiving dinner, right? If let's say Stu's family and my family, we were given the exact same turkeys, the exact same ingredients, then they said, hey, have this ready by 4 p.m. What's the likelihood that we're going to do the exact same thing, the exact same steps to yield the same result? Little to no. But there will be aspects of it like, okay, well, we got to bake the turkey or whatever, right? So that becomes a priority, and then dicing. So understand that, because you can't, certain energy systems, right? We'll call it space in the oven even. It's like you only have so much space in the oven to cook that food. Like when we're talking absolute power, absolute strength, endurance, whatever, it's like some of them mutually train well together.
Sure.
Some of them do not. So you have to have that patience goal. Like, wait a minute, my time didn't come down as much as I want. But then our response will likely be, well, we've identified that it wasn't a cardiovascular issue. It was more of a strength issue. So now we had to develop the leg strength. Then now we can develop the strength endurance, right? And we're gonna, like, over that year, you are absolutely going to develop aerobic endurance in our training programs. And we just make a difference. Like Stu may do the stuffing first. I may do the potatoes. It doesn't really matter, And so that's why we're also saying be patient within our programs too, because we are not solving a problem in 3 months or 6. Yeah. Likely, if you put a lot of quality training in prior to coming to see us, the least amount of time I've ever prescribed an athlete is 4 months out. And that's just because they were they came from a very extensive athletic background. They had followed, they had been appropriately exposed to good weight training where they came from. And so their learning curve was much, much less. And so they got into, air quotes, quality training sooner than your average person that has to be, we'll call it, educated in that process.
And plus, they're probably stellar athletes. Yeah. And you tell them, hey, your top arm needs to pull this way, your bottom needs to go there. And there's a timing that all you have to do is tell them. And they're so used to moving
They've been coached.
properly with it, yeah, and they just boom, boom, boom. You fall
Yeah.
right into it. Whereas someone who comes in kind of a clean slate, non-athlete guy that, you might need a week to teach them just how to swim.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's okay. So
Yeah.
that's the thing is like I use an examples. Like I had an athlete that came and trained with me for a week. He is actually on the Stanford varsity triathlon team.
Nice.
Right. But he still needed time.
Sure.
And so also don't be discouraged because you're like, oh my God, I'm not a triathlete at Stanford. Neither was I.
No.
Neither was I. So don't again, those titles do not precede success.
No.
All they do a lot of times is, like I said, they lay the groundwork for a less learning curve, like a less steep learning curve potentially.
Yeah.
But it doesn't negate training.
No, your history exposes strengths and weaknesses.
You betcha.
That's it.
Totally.
When somebody tells me what they did the past 3 years, I'm like, okay, we probably need to work on this, and this.
You bet.
And 9 times out of 10, I'm right.
Yeah.
He may have.
And that's where the evaluation then comes in to make sure that you're
Yeah.
still not like, we just go do this. And
No.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's still an evaluation process. There's a bit
Sure.
of a conversation that happens, so you guys just be patient. The process does work. I can say this with absolute confidence that both Stu and I's processes, as we apply it to you all, they will 100% work from a physical development standpoint. It's just, and even like so many guys that we've been exposed to mutually, right? They use a combination of our things, and it's because they're methodical, they're well thought out, they work well together. And moreover, our intention for you all is to improve your training, right? Based on what's best for you, not based on like someone's methodology.
Yep. Yeah, it's our methodology.
Yeah.
We've been doing it for a while.
Don't try to fix everything at once.
Yeah.
Do it periodically. And again, it's like if you have a leg strength issue, right? For example, well, it behooves you to get leg strength. So then your aerobic training can really be put to work. Right? If you're very good aerobically, but you don't have the leg strength, developing leg strength will not hurt your aerobic endurance.
Nope.
It will improve it.
Yes.
So that's what we're trying to do. We're identifying weaknesses in our head and going, how do I improve that so I know it's going to improve this?
Yeah, and it will add to your durability in the end.
You bet.
When you're that guy that needs some strength, because I always kind of tie strength and power, speed, agility training into durability.
Yeah.
Right? It just makes you a little more durable. And then I tie in muscle stamina, endurance, aerobic, anaerobic activity into work capacity. And then the two durability and work capacity elements that come into play from all those elements of fitness, is really the key at the end of the day. There's no 30-minute gym routine that's going to prepare you for a day of spec ops selection training. So you have to put in your time doing some specifics, and that's running and swimming and rucking and load bearing activities and building your body for that, but also building your body for all the high repetition stuff that you could be in a push-up position for an hour.
You bet.
I mean, not that you have to do that to yourself, to prepare for it, but you have to have some durability and ability to recover quickly.
You bet.
So you can hit that next one. So, and that takes time.
Yep.
It takes time. So I guess that's what we're talking about with 2020. We got a whole year of time ahead of us. So I'm looking forward. Right? I'm looking forward to your facility coming up this year, and we'll definitely have to throw some seminars and.
We will. It's going to happen. Yeah.
And I also created. My publisher called me last month and asked me, do I think I have 100 different pyramid workouts? And I had to think a little bit, and I said, I probably have at least 50, whether it's calisthenics or it's a weight reverse pyramid, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1s, or it's speed work in the pool with pyramids or time or distance.
Yep.
So I actually came up with 100 pyramid workouts in a book, and there's no system to it. It's just 1 through 100 kind of a la carte workouts. And so
choose your own adventure.
If you like pyramids, I got the book for you. It's coming out in the spring, and it should be pretty fun. Nice. I have found pyramids to be a very useful tool to to help progression with calisthenics, especially because you do it one day and let's say you do it 2 weeks later and you go a notch higher, so it's actually showing you progress on a work capacity level.
Yeah. It gives you a point of assessment week in and week out for sure. Yeah. Same. I'm on day. I'm rewriting I'm writing 2 more swim programs.
Oh, awesome.
Like a phase 1, 2, 3, like I do my run.
Nice.
So I'm working on phase 1 right now. I'm 36 days in to that. The math has got, I don't know how many days it's going to last. I got to figure out I have a goal where a person needs to be able to do, but I got to systematically get to that time and rest period and everything. So I imagine it's probably going to be somewhere around 70 to 90 days.
Nice. And how many days a week would you have a beginner in the pool?
Yeah, and that's what this is for. This is phase 1.
Right.
And it starts off, and it's pretty much entirely done in fins.
Okay.
Or in you choose, and it's all in there. So, those guys, it's going to ramp up in terms of volume after about day. There's phases of it. So they're swimming 5 to 6 days a week.
Nice.
If they're able to get through it, but again, it's still going to be blocked. If you need another day off, you take another day off,
sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And this is like, so they're like, well, what's the difference? The other one really is the swim program that I have on my website really is more of a phase 3. It's a short, violent interval one that's really focuses on, force production in a short period of time and increasing your speed reserve. This one really is kind of like, okay, I'm not really well versed in the pool. I'm an athlete and I need to start really getting my aerobic base in the pool. And that's what this one's for.
General comfort.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, because you choose your own stroke.
Yeah,
well.
I have found that to be very beneficial to someone. Like I have a guy right now that 2 weeks ago, his first time swimming across a pool ever, was with us.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, the first few times he didn't even make it across the pool. And I was like, all right, now I know what I'm working with. And, and it's a long journey. Yep. It's a long journey for a guy. And I said, just get in the water. I don't care if you just tread. Just get in the water, put your face in the water, put a mask on, look at the big room underneath, get comfortable underwater. Because that's, a lot of people freak out when they put their face under the water. And, you got to get comfortable. You got to get over that.
Yeah. And it's something, like I guess Stu and I, we're so far removed from that, and that's why those programs, that's kind of why I unfortunately released them in reverse order. Cause it's like, when I wrote the program, I was like, just do this. I'm like, well, shoot, man, I was swimming before I was a year old, legitimately swimming before I was a year old. So I don't know I was in swim team by the time I was 4.
Yeah.
Like I just don't know any different. So for me, it's like, okay, I really have to take stock in the guys that are athletes willing to put the effort in, but have not been exposed to that environment.
Yeah. I would say that I've written several programs over the years that were at a higher level, because I will tell you this also, Jeff, something I've learned as a writer is unfit people don't buy fitness books. So I even write a beginner program. So I just start here. I just start off here. Then if I see a need for a progression,
that's what happened.
I'll write in a beginner progression. Yeah.
Like even for myself, I identified my weaknesses in programming available to all. It's like I say my programs are like choose your own adventure based on your weakness and goal. But there's 7 or 8 programs missing right now. And so that's one of my goals for this year is to make sure that when someone says, hey, this is my numbers, this is where I'm at, I'm not kind of going, well, it's kind of this program, but it's kind of this. So what we're doing is writing all those programs the best we can to fill in all those gaps to accommodate more athletes.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, good. 2020s. Looking bright.
We'll do this again, Stu. I appreciate it.
All right. We'll see you. Thank you,
care.
everybody.